Hola, buenas tardes. Good evening. Welcome to En Casa con la Plaza. My name is Abelardo de la Peña Jr. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications de la Plaza de Cultura y Artes. En Casa con la Plaza is our virtual series since April 2020. April 2020. My gosh, we're at almost 300 sessions, including the happy hours with Dan Guerrero. Anyway, if you're on Zoom, please use the chat feature. You can ask questions, make comments, Q&A. We'll have it after the session, after the conversation. If you're on Facebook, use the comment section there. Shout outs, questions, lo que sea. We welcome your interactivity. Our sponsors, Union Pacific Foundation and the Institute for Museum and Library Services. I usually talk a little bit about what's going on at La Plaza de Cultura y Artes before we start the conversation, but this is going to be such an exciting and interesting conversation that I'm going to save it for later. So for now, let's call the man of the hour, the happy hour, Dan Guerrero. Please join us, Dan.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well, Dan. How are you?
Well, I'm doing fine. Let me have a sip here. I'm having a little attack, but I'm fine. Here's to you.
And here's
What are
to
you drinking tonight?
I got a little cervecita here.
Oh, yeah. Dark. I like light ale. I like Corona.
All right. I like the Negra Modelo. That's my brand.
Oh, I'll tell your wife. So, all is good. I just got back from Tucson, I will tell you.
Well, tell us about it, Dan.
I love Tucson. You know, look, I never lived there, but I consider my hometown. Both my parents were born and raised there. And my grandparents on my dad's side got there in 1915, both from Mexico. My mom's parents must have moved there shortly thereafter, but my mother's father was Irish, second generation Irish American, and he was a mining engineer. So he was in Durango, and he said, who is that Fermina Corral over there? And before the Irish knew it, they had a Mexican branch on that tree. And they were not at all happy. But you know what? Either were the Mexican side. They couldn't believe he was married somebody who wasn't fully, Mexicana. So times have changed and people marry anyone they love these days, as it should be, right?
Exactly.
So I love going to Tucson. I went for a cousin's graduation from the police academy.
Nice.
So it was a very, very inspiring day there. So now I'm back and ready to go with a happy hour.
All right.
And you were up in the Sierras, right?
Yes, up in the Sierra, Eastern Sierras, there in Mammoth Lakes, doing some camping and doing some condoing as well.
Wait a minute. Camping? You were in a tent?
In a tent for 5 days, 4 nights in a tent.
Forget about it. I like to go in the mountains, but I want a hotel with a hot tub. No, I don't do tents. That's hard.
It's roughing it somewhat. It wasn't like we were backpacking out into the wilderness.
Yeah.
We had a good time.
But you slept on the ground. You slept on the ground.
Well, over sleeping bag and a couple layers of blankets underneath. But yeah,
the ground. You slept on the ground.
In a tent.
Okay, all right. God bless you. That's good. Let's find out. Let's see if our guest ever slept in a tent. Probably.
Well, I'm gonna go away, Dan. So we'll see.
Okay. I'll see you later. Well, hello everybody. Well, I'm toasting you all. Thanks for zooming in. My guest tonight, it is not an exaggeration to say that he is one of the most versatile actors around, and that's the truth. He moves easily from stage to big screen to little screen, drama, comedy, everything in between. He's a very gifted young man, and he's also a handful of Latino actors who blazed a trail for those that followed. And he's one of the really nice guys in the business. So I've known him a long time. So please zoom in, Carlos Gomez, from wherever you are. There you are.
I'm in a tent.
You're in a tent. Have you ever been in a tent?
Big Bear. It's a little warm, but
you lie. Where are you? I know you're sometimes in New York, sometimes Miami, LA.
Yeah. I'm in LA right now. I'm in beautiful weather in LA right now. It's too hot to go back east, so
yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm in LA. It's great weather. It's nice to be here. Yep.
traffic, but it is nice. I'm glad because we've been trying to get together for a while and
I know.
schedules never work. But happily, I ran into you at the Danny Trejo film screening,
Right.
and
Right.
we were both like, let's set the date. And you were available.
I know, right? Let's do it right here, right now, because if not,
I
things
toast
happen.
you. I toast you for joining the happy hour. Thank you so much.
And thank you, man. Thank you. What are you drinking?
A very dry vodka martini
Very cool.
with a garlic olive. That's really the best part. I only drink.
Wow.
I only drink to get to the garlic olive.
I hadn't seen that before. Garlic olive. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm drinking a mezcal margarita.
No way.
My favorite drink, man. I got hooked on mezcal. I was doing a movie in Phoenix, was it? And they had a place that sold tequila, and they had a mezcal mixer. You go there and they teach you about mezcal and all. And after that, I was hooked, man.
I don't know. I must have tried it, but is it smoother than tequila? It's more serious.
It's smoky.
Right?
It's like a smoky tequila. It's like tequila, but it's smokier. So it has a little bit like, so when you mix it with the margarita, the sweetness and the smokiness, I freaking love it, man. It goes down smooth.
Smooth. So you did well. I know. I told you I was going to text.
And also too, one thing, you said happy hour. So usually my happy hours start like around 3.
Good boy.
So yeah. So I've been, you know what I'm saying? I just, when you said happy hour at 3 o'clock, I'm like, I need a drink. So
hey, I'm not one to judge. I'm right behind you there. I'm right behind you there. I know I told you I was going to get in touch with Lucy Arnaz because I thought she had done some sort of a Cuban drink and it se me fue. So
that's right. You did tell me that. Yeah.
If I do find out what it was, I'll tell you, and you can still do
definitely, definitely.
I want to ask you because you have a career that has spanned more than 30 years.
Oh my God, I'm iconic.
And you're into iconic status. So honestly, I was going to ask you, I mean, did you ever dream one day someone would introduce you as, an actor with a career spanning 30 years?
No, Dan, it's crazy. It really is crazy. And it's gone by like this, man.
Yeah.
I am so grateful and so blessed to have been able to make a career out of being an actor and an artist and a creative person and a storyteller. And, I literally wake up every morning and pinch myself. And I thank God that after all these years, I'm still here, I'm still working. And it's been an incredible ride, man. I'm extremely, extremely grateful for everything. But no, I never thought I'd be doing this for 30 years. It's like, come on.
And it seems when you read your bio and it seems like it was nonstop, but I'm sure there are still moments when you're like, am I ever going to work in this town again? I mean, there's got to be those moments.
Oh yeah, there was definitely those moments when I was doing theater in New York for a long time, and I was doing musical theater. And then when I decided to come to LA, back at that time, dancers or New York theater people were considered actors. If you were a dancer, you can be an actor. It was very, So I had to, like, after being on Broadway, after working in Europe for 4 years, I had to erase all that. And I did construction for 4 years.
Wow.
I worked in construction, just to start from scratch. And, I needed money. I wasn't working. But all those credits, everything I had done before, I'd kind of put it on the side. And then that's when I started the acting. And so, and during that time, I thought, what am I doing? Am I really going to do this? So I think we've all had those moments where,
oh gosh, and sometimes they're going for quite a while.
They do. You get that newspaper, that want ads at the end of the day. You're like, let me see, what else can I do? Telemarketing, messenger,
priest. Going to study something steady, because that's the other thing. You can have all the talent in the world, but it takes another talent to be able to navigate this life, where you have a fantastic year and then you go through all your savings in 1 year, and then it's a special locura that we all have, that we're able to just, not everybody can do that. It's hard.
I'm like a squirrel. When I work, I get all my linen and I put it in the corner until and I hide it until see like what happens, and I live way, way, way under my means, you know. So I'm not the flashy with the car and the house and the, you know, I like to me, time is peace of mind. You know what I'm saying? And being able to know that I don't have to stress about, you know, some people live paycheck to paycheck. I can't.
Yeah.
That has never been my thing, man. I had to like make sure that I had what I had and try to, you know, work that way. So, but again, 30 years I've been blessed, worked with unbelievable artists, and it's been a ride, man. It's been a ride.
We're going to talk about all that in a minute, but I want to add also, as an actor, as you mature, I mean, you're offered different kinds of roles. So I mean, it must stay fresh and exciting, because you used to be the son, now you met the dad, and then you're the granddad, and which I salute, by the way, because we all know, and we won't say who, but gentlemen of a certain age still wanting to play the juvenile, you know, and you're
Right.
dyeing the hair and doing the this, and you know.
Right. I know. And you put that picture of, you know, 1985 on your IMDb.
Yeah,
You're like, who's this guy? I don't know.
but I would think, as an artist, you love the idea that you can.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's shocking a little bit, because you know that you're changing, you know you're getting older, you know that, you know, you're going into different parts. Like you said, you know, you play the like Papi Chulo when you're younger, and then, you know, the detective, and then the district attorney, then the judge, then the corpse, then the granddad, you know, and they're in court saying, guilty, next.
Oh, the corpse. Hey, remember Kevin, what's the big star? Kevin, the big star, Dancing with Wolves, Kevin Costner. His first role was a corpse in
that's right, in Big Chill.
That's right. He was
right, and they cut him out, I think, right?
Done. So you should look for more corpse roles. That is my advice to you. We're going to touch a little bit on a lot of your career, but I want to talk about your TV roles. Okay, we'll start with that, because you really were in landmark roles in the 90s. I mean, ER, NYPD Blue, Charmed, and Friends. Where
yeah, I was one of the few Latins on Friends. Latinos.
I was going to say,
Panchito Gomez, I think.
Yeah, I'll bet you were the only one.
Yeah.
Look at you. And she looks quite agog with this Latino gentleman.
I'm telling you, yeah, she couldn't wait to kiss me there. I was like, Courtney, down, girl, down. She was like, no, let's do it again. Let's rehearse. I was like, come on.
It's really true, because that was later, not at the time, but there was a lot of criticism on how non-diverse that not just the leads, but that whole series was.
Yeah, I think Martha now, you know, she had Martha Kaufman who did it. She just came out not too long ago talking about it. You know, how looking back, she goes like, I really never thought of the diversity issue when I did the show and stuff. And I think she's been doing stuff to, like, you know, just because of that, because she's aware of what happened. But yeah, I was one of the only Latinos, and I was like, you know, at that time, you know, you just feel like I just wanted that other gig, that next gig. I just want to keep working. There wasn't a like, oh, like I'm a Latino and I'm here, and you know, for me it was like paycheck. I'm an immigrant. My parents are Cuban. I was just like, what's next? I didn't have time to like, you know, to think too much about like, oh, is this right for me, or I'm a Latino, or I'm Cuban, or, you know, it was just like next gig. We gotta do it. So. Because and actually, a lot of my career was like that too.
You actually don't necessarily even look Latino. You could play anything, but were you pretty much offered Latino roles?
Even it was pretty much, and I knew that, you know, early on I realized that I was going to create a niche for myself of what I was going to play. If it was going to be detectives, it was going to be authoritative figures, and I would bring my Latino-ness and my Cubanism, and I'd bring that to the part, you know. It wasn't like, oh, I want to play something else. I was going to play a Cuban detective, you know, on this show, and named Martinez, whatever. It didn't matter if they wrote it or not. But for me, it was always, you know, that's what I was going to play, because that's what I wanted to show, and that's who I was. So I always led with that first, you know.
That's a much more positive than negative way to do it.
Yeah, I did not.
Healthier.
Yeah, it is healthier for your mind too, because you go like, you know, if you start doubting and saying, oh, but I'm not right for this, and there's only, you know, when you started, you go like, oh, only 2% of the actors, you know, make over $50,000, and, you know, 0.000% of Latins are even making that money. So it's like, I didn't look back. I just kept kind of moving forward. So
Very good. Very
yeah.
and that's probably another reason you work so well, because you are, as I said in the intro, one of the really nice guys. And let's face it, people want to work with people that are talented and who they like and are easy to work with and they enjoy working with. That's a big part of it too.
Totally. I go, you think that they're going to be there for at least 14 hours a day. They're going to be working with you, with this crew, with people that are under stress. Everybody's trying to make the time. Who would you rather be with? Somebody who's like grumpy and like, the bad apple and the thing, or somebody who's going to make you laugh? Or sometimes for me, I think I wasn't always the best actor for the part, but I was going to be the best actor on that set to bring in a good feeling and to make everybody feel welcome, from the star of the show till the caterer. I always treated everybody with the same respect, with the same, because we're all in this trying to create this one little project, So to me, it was always like a party, man, going on set and sort of like a spiritual experience, because this is the place where you're going to be creative, to open up, to be able to take chances. And so to me, a set and the people around it were very, very special from the beginning till now.
Yeah, and you're right. Every piece is the PA, as during that work thing, the PA is as important as the EP. I mean, everybody, it's such a collaborative effort.
Yeah, and you have to treat everybody with the same respect, man, because everybody's there. You don't know anybody's story. You don't know how they got there. They could have been an actor that are now, the script supervisor. Everybody's on the same thing and trying to make that scene that you're working look good, sound good, and be a good, product for the story or for the movie or whatever.
And that's the right thing to do, just as human beings. But also from a business point of view, that PA in 5 years is the head of MTV. Honestly,
yes,
right? We've all
that
seen
has happened to me a few times, where that PA, where everybody's treating like shit, and then he said, "No, my dad is the head of the studio, but he wants me to start from the bottom, and so here I am." And I'm like, wow, that's like, because you never know. You never. This business changes like this. You don't never know who's like, who's going to be in that room when you walk in.
That's right. Giving the green light to a project. Yeah. And then in the new millennium, let's go into, again, it's like you only did class acts, 24, Monk, Madam Secretary. I love Madam Secretary. Elementary, Chicago Med, the long-running A&E series, The Glades, David E. Kelly's ABC drama series, Big Sky, the NBC drama Law, Order, True Crime, the Menendez murders. Now let's talk about that. We have a photo of that. That's a whole other animal when you're playing a real person. Obviously, we all know what this was based on. Tell us how you approach that role.
It's funny because a lot of actors passed on this role, and it kind of went down and down and down and down and down till they got to me. So I was very, very grateful for the part, because, it doesn't matter how, people perceive a part or something. I always try to bring some kind of humanity, some kind of empathy, some kind of compassion, that start from there, even though they're man-made, whatever it is, but start from there, from that nugget, That was an interesting project, because when I started doing research on who Jose Menendez was, at that time, this guy was one of the most powerful Latinos in Hollywood. He was the guy who invented the sequels, and he had worked with Stallone on, I forgot what movie, but he's the one that created the distribution of doing, part 1, part 2, part 3, because he worked at Carolco, I think, company. So I was, in researching a character, I was thinking, this guy, he was a force for Latinos in this industry,
Cuban American, Cuban, right?
Yeah, Cuban American. Yeah, he had come through Peter Pan, and he worked at his college, and he worked his way to his, he was vice president of Hertz Rent-A-Car. This guy was like, so when the whole tragedy of what happened, and I would talk to friends of his, people that he had known, I was like, I just can't imagine how this could happen, So it was, for me, it was like, and what I was playing was the idea of what the kids thought, it wasn't what really happened, but in the heads of the kids, how they described it. So it came across how the kids described the parents and what happened and stuff. So it was hard because I had to work with the kids, and it was very sensitive. There was a therapist there, there's a psychologist that we would all talk about the scene before we do it. I mean, they were
Oh,
very, very careful about how we approached everything. So it was a Dick Wolf. So these people,
I'm
they're the
sure.
top
Oh,
of the top. Um, and the people that I worked with, I mean, Edie Falco was just brilliant in it. There were some really, really, really good actors on it, but it was
unbelievable.
a heavy part, man. It was a heavy, heavy part, and I love, being a character actor. You love to envelop yourself in these characters. I love it. I like to get lost in these characters and just find things that will make a difference, or would, like, you know something that out of the ordinary for the part. But it was a heavy role. It was a really, really heavy role.
I would suspect this one was not as easy to leave at the studio and go home as some other roles you did.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was tough. That took me a few months to, like, shake this character off, because it was dark, and it was like, and they depict it so well. I was, talking to this friend of mine. We recreated the living room where it happened to the T. I mean, it was exactly how and where they got shot and he was watching the Ten Commandments, and it looks so real, the blood spatter. And you're on a set and you think, like, wow, this is where it happened. Okay, it's a set.
Mm.
But then the technical advisor, who was one of the first detectives that actually came into the crime scene when it really happened, and he explained to us, like, he says, okay, so he got the gun and he shot the dad here, and then he
Oh
went
my
across, he
God.
shot the mom here, and all of a
Wow.
sudden I started getting goose pimples, because I thought,
Wow.
oh my God, this is something that really happened. And
Wow.
the way when he described it that way, it shook me to the core, man. So it was heavy. It was heavy. It was heavy.
Wow. It does sound, but it must have taken you to the right place to shoot the scene in some ways. Although he didn't know what was going to happen, but you as the actor, that was hard to
Completely. Yeah,
wow.
completely, completely. It all of a sudden it became really real, really real.
Wow.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I want to talk about one other show that you did that you described as a life-changing experience, and that was House of Lies. And we have a photo with Don Cheadle. Um,
Yeah.
wow, that's a good cast. Tell us why it was a life-changing experience for you, this particular.
Well, I'm Cuban. I was born in New York, but my parents are Cuban. They came in the '60s as refugees to the United States, and I still have family in Cuba. I still have a niece that lives in Cuba. And when I auditioned for it, they told me, we're shooting this in Cuba, and I was like, how can we shoot in Cuba? It's not legal. We can't go there. We have an embargo. Blah, blah. And it was during the Obama presidency,
Uh-huh.
and they told us, no, we got a way that we're going to be shooting in Cuba. And it was the first TV show that had shot in Cuba since the '60s, that they were going to give us that permit to shoot there.
Wow.
So for me to go back to Cuba to see my niece, with a TV show, we shot in an area where my parents used to go and have ice cream. They used to sit
Mhm.
in Malecon and have ice cream, and
Mhm.
to be there shooting a television show, in Cuba, in the country where my parents are from, it was just one of these aha moments that you go, like, thank you, God, this is another, another just blessing that he's given me to be able to share that and be in Cuba. And I was like the American actor, but I was a Cuban, so I was the middleman for everything. Every time we
Sure.
went out to dinner with Cheadle and everybody else, I was the one who was like, saying, oh, I got it, so it was really life changing, man. We were there for like 3 weeks. It was and it was incredible. It was a really incredible experience.
I,
Yeah,
I was
mind blowing.
I was there, and 2 days after we left is when Obama visited.
Mm,
So they were starting to loosen up already. There's a wonderful artist and performance artist, Carmelita
uh-huh.
Tropicana, I should say. And she did the happy hour, and she actually was born in Cuba and came when she was about 3 or 4. And
Right,
she went back in recent years to the house where she grew up.
right,
So
right.
like you, it is just, it is,
It's a full circle. It's a 360, man. When you see where your parents came from, and and the humbleness of the Cuban people, and
I
what's
love
going on
it.
there, and it's when I landed there and I started hearing people talk, I was like, I'm home.
Yes,
I am
exactly.
home. These
Of course.
are my people. This is my culture. This is where I came from. Politically wise, forget about the politics, because
Yeah.
but when you're dealing with the people and the people of the land, that's where we're from. That's where our ancestry is from. So it was moving, man. It was moving, and at that time, it gave the Cuban people a little like a breath, like a
Mhm.
feeling like, what? There might be something, because you don't think that there's going to be any change, but at that time, like it gave them like this feeling of like, wow, there could really be a change going on. And then, it all went to shit back to one, but
I
it
know.
uh it was an incredible experience to be 90 miles away from the United States and going through
So near and yet so far. I mean,
yeah,
it's almost like going to Catalina, and yet
yeah,
it was verboten for so long that when we went, you felt like you were going somewhere you weren't supposed to be, and it was a little, unlawful, and this whole
yeah.
mystique there.
It's a trip because when you go to the airport in Miami, it's a bustling Miami International
Yeah,
Airport, bustling, and there's neon and people around, and you literally you lift off, and 40 minutes later you land in this third world country where there's
yes,
no neon. Everything is just gray because of the paint. It's like this
yeah,
kind of neoclassical kind of fading of paints and stuff, and you go like, it's a different world, and you're like, it's a 40-minute flight. You know,
yeah, yeah. But
it's a
it's
it's a
you
trip.
literally go back in time. It's frozen in time. But I did
Completely.
find the people so beautiful. They were so. I just
Yeah.
absolutely loved it. I
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
loved it.
It's a special place, a special place in my heart. Special.
Well, there's another show that right now I love, and it had a little bumpy career there, and that your Netflix series, The Beauty and the Baker,
Yeah,
which started. There you are with Lisa Vidal, who we love,
yeah.
and
She's the best.
you play the patriarch of a very, let's say, colorful family.
Very colorful.
Give us a very brief little kind of plot there, because I loved it, and it was canceled from the network. Then it went to Hulu. Then
But
it
yeah,
went to Netflix,
Netflix.
where it is now. It's
Yeah,
really a marvelous series. If you have Netflix, you should. I loved it. I used to watch it all the time. And
yeah.
but imagine in the old days, if it was canceled, that would have been the end of it. But now
Right,
there are so many other platforms. You're
right,
not filming
right.
any new episodes, though. You're not filming new episodes.
No, no, we just did that one season. They decided to like, to nix it after that. That for me, Dan, it was really again another life-changing experience because when I started in this business in television, the one thing that I wanted to do was do a TV show where it represented where I came from,
Mm-hmm.
my culture, being Cuban, being able to tell the stories that where I came from, you know. And for my whole entire career, that's what I've been really kind of venturing for is to be in a show that I could use that. And in a small way, this was that show. It was about a Cuban family in Miami that owned a bakery, first generation, dealing with, your kids growing up in America and, having being one foot in your culture and one foot in America, and how, as a parent, how you deal with that without losing where you came from. It had all those elements, and 8th Street, where the bakery is from, I used to go as a kid to, with my parents to eat. So it was like, again, it was like a 360 to do this show, and the cast was amazing. From the first table read, I knew that we had something incredibly special because
I agree with
chemistry,
you. I was going to
chemistry
say that.
within actors. I'm sorry, you can have great writing, but if you don't have chemistry within the actors, they're the audience can't doesn't there's no show. There's no show. And from day one, the chemistry of the family was just intact.
Well,
We
that.
shot it in Puerto Rico,
Oh,
which
you
was
did.
yeah, we shot the whole series in Puerto Rico, but it was too
Oh,
expensive to shoot in Miami. So we only
wow.
had a couple of exterior shots in Miami, but the whole series was shot in Puerto Rico.
I
Our
had no
crew
idea.
was Puerto Rican, it was like literally a party going to work. Me and Lisa would dance like in between takes. It was a party. To be able to be creative in this environment where your crew is also Latin and you're speaking Spanish, and there's cafecito at the craft service,
Oh
and there's
my
platanito
God.
aquí, and there's arroz con habichuela, it just gave the show that much more spice. you know,
Sure.
because we were living in that thing. So whenever the cameras rolled, it was authentic, you know.
You know,
A
you
great
talk about,
show, you know. I mean, and you know, and ABC just did not back it. You know, they just did not back it. We were always the underdog. The show. It was the last show to get picked up as a pilot, the last show to go to series. It was always like, you know, they had other shows, but they were done. How about that Baker and the Beauty? It's kind of cute, right? Yeah, I don't know. And I'm going like, you know, we were struggling from the beginning, you know, until it got to Netflix, where it got exposed to the world, and in 2 weeks it went up to number one.
right,
You
right.
know,
I
it
was
was a
going to
huge.
say it grabs you early. It grabbed me right away because I was going to say the casting, because you
Right.
really love this family. You could
Exactly.
really feel the love between the parents and the kids and the
Yeah.
issues, and
Yeah.
it was very seemed very authentic, and I was shocked when it got canceled,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it was
It was
so well
hard. It was,
done.
you know, we had great writers. We had a writers room full of Latinos. Our creator, Dean Guerrero, you know, he's Greek. He wasn't Latin, but we did something that was really interesting that I had never done before. We had a meeting with the whole cast and the writer, and he wanted to explain how we related to each other. You know, how do you feel about your son? How does she feel about? And just in that little round table for an hour, he figured exactly what he needed to write for the Cubans, or just for this family. And then we had a writer's room full of Latins who understood the work, and who have written in other shows, but all of a sudden they're writing about themselves. So it was, you know, it was magic. It was, again, that was one of my, you know, blessed. I would just thank God every morning. I'd wake up in Puerto Rico and like, I can't believe you gave me this too. You know, you go through your career and you go like, wow, that's a high point, or that's a high point. And you feel like it just, you know, it goes,
There's
you know,
always
higher
some
and higher.
special projects that I've produced and directed a million things, but there's 3 or 4 that were just beyond anything,
Yeah.
that stand way out. You're always
Yeah.
glad for a gig, but some are just special. They
Yeah.
just
Those that really shake your career and put your creativity on another level. You
Mhm.
know, there's those, I've had like 4 or 5 of those that really like shook things into a whole other perspective in my career, you know.
Now, you said earlier you were born in New York, but you were brought up in Miami. We have a couple photos here, I think, of you with your dad.
Oh yeah.
There's your
That's
dad.
good
Look
old
at that
dad.
curly hair. Look at that curly hair. What
That
did
little
your
part.
dad do? What did your dad do?
My dad was a barber. You know, I mean, my
Oh,
dad was a politician in Cuba, but you know, of course, when you come to this country, you know, he didn't speak the language. You know,
sure.
you have to start from scratch.
Yeah.
So you know, my parents struggled. You know, my mom worked as in a sweatshop for 27 years,
Wow.
pressing shirts. Yeah, and my dad came in and became a barber. Um, and growing up, I saw the struggle that they went through in this country. You know, and it gave me the emphasis and the feeling that I can't let them down. You know, I have to do what I got to do, because the sacrifices that these two have made for me, so I can have an education, so I can, you know, it was rough. But my dad, yeah, he was a barber. He worked as a security guard at the time, and he had me late. He had me when he was 52. So he was starting a whole life as a, you know, as a older person, you know, and it was
Abelardo,
rough.
can we jump to the photo of his mom? Can we jump to the photo of his mom? Look at
Yeah, that's
that's
my
lovely.
rock.
Now, what are you you're not an only child.
Yeah, I'm an only child.
Really? Are you
Yeah.
sure you're Latino?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like I said, they were older. My parents were older. My mom was 36. My dad
Wow.
was, you know, my dad had, you know, I have stepbrothers and stuff, but with my mom, I was the only child. I was
Wow.
it. So, you know, a little spoiled growing up, but
Good for you.
as
Good
all
for
Latino kids are.
I know people always accuse me of being spoiled, and I denied it for years. And one day I thought to myself, I really was. Thank God.
Right.
Thank God. But let me ask you this: what, in the middle of all this madness, where did this acting bug hit? And this, because I know you started as a dancer, and let's jump to dancing as long as we're here.
Yeah. I started, you know, really
Abelardo?
I didn't know what I wanted to do when I graduated high school. But I was a break dancer. I was a bebopper. I was like, oh,
Do you
wow.
remember this? Do you remember
Holy
this?
shit. That's a long ass time ago.
I knew you were going to say that.
Look at the
I
hair.
said to Abelardo, he
Hair.
didn't give me this photo. He's going to pass out. This is your first film. You were a break dancer. So tell us.
Yeah,
Tell
I
us.
wasn't even, you know, again, I started as a break dancer. I started as a hip hop kind of guy. And then when I went to New York, I started taking more like theater class, dance class, and kind of segued from a break dancer into more of a formal, you know, theater dancer. And I sang a little bit too. So that's how I came into the dancing. I worked with Michael Peters, who was an incredible choreographer.
Sure.
Worked for Michael Jackson and stuff. And
Yeah.
I went to Europe and I did two shows, and one in Holland for a couple of years, and then I did an Italian TV show as well with them. And I love dancing, but there's a limited career as a dancer. You can only go so far unless you want to choreograph or direct. And
Yeah. You got
I always wanted, even when I danced, I was an actor. I was always expression. I was always have. So, I made the decision to segue into acting, but I danced for 12 years, and it was a good career. And I traveled the world. I was on my first dance gig was on Broadway with Anthony Quinn, doing Zorba.
Oh, you were in Zorba? You were in Zorba?
At 23 years old, I was on Broadway in Zorba with Anthony Quinn. Yeah. Graciela Danielle, who was one of my mentors, she cast me. I got my equity card on that show.
I miss who you said.
Graciela Danielle.
I know Graciela Argentina. Yeah. She was from Argentina. Lovely lady. Protege. Lovely. Great choreographer.
She gave me one of my first breaks, man. She was one of my mentors at the beginning of my career, as a dancer. And she just I loved that woman,
She was great.
Yeah. So I toured for a year with Anthony Quinn, every, 8 shows a week. When I saw that guy on stage, that was another moment where I was like, wow, this guy is that's iconic. You know what I'm saying? This guy was the movies
we all meet famous people all the time, but there are some people that you're like, holy crap. Yeah. He's one of them.
Presence. He was a presence, man. He was a presence.
That film,
that
film, Dance to Win, was 1989, as you well know. Now, your first big, how old were you? 4, 5?
I was just out of kindergarten. I said, I want to dance. I want to dance.
It's better to start young. It's better to start young. So, but your first really grown-up movie was in the Mambo Kings, and how you got that part is a marvelous story, and it shows your determination. I want you to tell the people how you got into the Mambo Kings.
So again, I was a dancer, but I was like, I said, I'm going to make it in this town. I want to, and I had an agent at the time, but he wasn't sending me out on anything. And I hear about this movie called Mambo Kings, about these 2 Cuban musicians. I was like, I have to be in this movie. Come on. I'm Cuban. I got to be in this freaking movie. So I think it was Rick Montgomery was the casting director. He was at Raleigh Studios. And some way I finagled my way into the studio. And I figured out where his office was. And I went up to this office, and I just walked in and I said, hey, man, my name's Carlos Gomez. I'm an actor. I hear you're doing a movie about Cubans. I'm Cuban. And I'd like to be in the movie. No audition. No, he was in shock. He was like, first of all, how did you get into the studio? How did you? And I was like, listen, I just want a part. I don't care what I play, but I just want to be in this movie. And he goes, interesting that you walk into my office just like this. He says, but I have a part. I have a part of this guy. He has no lines. He pinches, who's the actress? I forget her name.
I don't remember.
But anyway, you have no lines, and then you get shot. There's a instrumental part, and you're literally on screen maybe 2 minutes. And I go, and he goes, and the character's called The Creep. I was like, I'll take it.
I'm in.
Sign me up, coach. And that's how I got my first movie. I was just like, I'm determined to get, ignorance is bliss at that time, because you think, I would never do something like that now. But, I thought why it? I'm just going to give it a chance. Sure. And I got the part, and it was my first big studio movie that I worked on.
And of course, it paid off, because you went on to share the screen with, and I'm going to read this because it's very impressive, Salma Hayek twice, in Desperado and Fools Rush In, Bandera, Sandra Bullock, George Clooney, Nicole Kidman, and you survived Ice Cube and Kevin Hart. And you actually had met Salma earlier in acting class, right?
Yes, yeah.
Here in LA.
We used to I went to it was a Latino class, but it was for Shakespeare, you know, and it was a bunch of Latino. I forgot the name of the
Oh,
teacher,
I
but
remember that. I
yeah,
remember
yeah,
that too. Yeah.
yeah. So I go to this class, and there's this little Mexican girl with like a, you know, a very strong accent, goes up and does like a monologue of Hamlet, and I'm going like, who the hell is this, you know? And I went up to her, and she goes, "No, soy de Mexico," you know. And she had just gotten into town, you know, and we became friends. And but the work, we just kind of happened to have worked on the same project. It was never like, you know, but we were friends before we worked together. And I knew that she had such a drive, and she was going to go places, you know.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
so that's how I met Salma. And then, you know, we did Desperado together. We did Fools Rush In, and we became really good friends. She's an incredible woman, and just a force in our industry.
And
You know,
again, a nice person. Salma's a lovely,
awesome,
lovely person.
awesome,
Well,
awesome. Never forgot where she came from.
while you were meeting her there, I was producing the Paul Rodriguez talk show.
Okay.
And a friend of mine said, there's this great novella actress and she wants to come to LA and try to break in, but she needs to have a job to come here. So will you put her on the show? And they showed me some clippings and she was beautiful. I said, sure, let's put her on the show. And she
Wow.
did. That was her first ever US TV appearance.
Wow, that's awesome.
We were at Hollywood Center Studios and she did that. And in fact, I remember vividly, we would take 3 1-hour shows in a day. So we were like, hello.
Wow.
And she was late. And we were all like pissed. And Paula's, well, who is this anyway? I said, well, she's new in town. She walked in, and everybody was like, hey.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
no problem.
Take your time. Take your time.
She was so gorgeous and so sweet and always was. For years, I'd be at an event, she'd be there, already a giant star. She'd cross over, she'd hug, like Eva Longoria. Those ladies are, they're still lovely, lovely, lovely girls.
Totally.
Okay, we're going to jump to theater for a minute now because Abelardo is going to come after me with an axe in a minute, but we could talk for 5 hours. But I do want to talk about, you did a lot of theater, but let's talk about a little musical that you did in 2008 with Lin-Manuel, and it was called
In the Heights.
Yeah, you were in
another.
Look at
another one of those gigs that changes your life, kind of.
Oh.
Yeah, it was incredibly special. That I'm still friends, and we still talk to this day all the time with every single one of us. It was another life-changing moment, you know. How I got that show was really interesting too. I happened to be in New York, and I'll make it really quick. I happened to be in New York at the time, and I always like to support Latin theater, you know, when I'm in New York. And there was this little show off Broadway called In the Heights, and it kind of got a buzz. People were liking it and stuff. So I go, let me go check out this In the Heights, see what it's about. And Dan, I literally sat in the chair, and the opening number comes out, and it was a 12-minute opening number, and I was flabbergasted. I could not believe what I just seen. I called my agent at intermission, and I said, listen, there's a show that I just saw called In the Heights. This show I think it's going to go places. There's a buzz that it might go to Broadway, but I know this is a special show. I want to keep track, and I want to keep tabs on the show. Cut to 3 months later, my agent calls. You're not going to believe it. The show's going to Broadway. They're replacing one person, and you'd be perfect for this part. And again, I saw God, and I went like, ah. I got on a plane.
Only one character was being replaced.
One character. I went to New York. I auditioned for it. 6 months later, my agent says, okay, there's a callback, but they're going to fly you to New York. And I was like, oh, this is serious. If they're going to fly me to New York from LA. Flew there, like it was in December during the holidays. I get the part. I start rehearsal mid-January. I'm on a Broadway stage in mid-February during previews for the show.
And a groundbreaking show, as it turns out.
Incredible show. It was, you know, for a Latino show to make that impact in the Great White Way was incredibly special. And working with Lynn and with Alex Lacrimore, the musical director, and Tommy Kail, the director, again, you work with people like that, and it raises your bar.
Oh,
you can't help but like raise your bar. And from that point, everything after that was on a different level for me because I had worked with this team of geniuses on this musical.
Yeah.
And, we won the Tony, and the show was, Broadway is hard. 8
Oh,
shows
yeah.
a week for a year. It's no joke. It's like a factory. So you got to be prepared. I was a little over my head because I hadn't really sang on Broadway. And I don't consider myself a singer. I'm an actor who can hold a tune more than, but to do 8 shows a week, man, it was tough. It was tough. And have 2 solos on stage.
Yes.
It was rough.
With Priscilla Lopez.
Yeah, another beautiful woman that I love to death, and she was awesome. And Mandy Gonzalez, who played my daughter. I mean, Robin de Jesus. There's so many people that came out of that show that just have catapulted. But again, it was very special. And Lin is, working with him and learning from him, and at such a young age, I just learned so much of just of hard work and creativity and having fun, but really working hard and creating your story and
Yeah.
not having a no. Everybody said, no, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, and In the Heights was just magical time for me.
And Lin-Manuel, again, not only is he absolutely and officially a genius,
Yeah.
he's also a really lovely guy. He's a really
Awesome.
nice person.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But you see, you work with people like that, and you go like, you know what? There are good people in this
Yes.
industry.
Yes.
And everybody says, oh, this guy's an asshole. I mean, yeah, there are those, but sometimes you get these nuggets of the higher the level, the nicer they are because they have
Absolutely
nothing to
true.
prove.
That's exactly right.
I have the talent. I just want to have enough time to express all the stories that I need to express.
That's exactly
on a
right.
level. So, and that's where Lynn and these people, landed.
Yeah. But he hasn't had a 30-year career yet.
No, not yet. But let's hope that he lasts as long as
suspect
this
he will.
iconic character actor does.
I suspect he will.
Who did I see? That Arturo Castro, who great actor. He did that show. It was a comedic. I saw him on the street, and he goes, "Oh my God!" And he introduced me to his show. This guy's iconic, and I was like, "Holy shit, that's like old, right? Iconic." I'm like, "Wow." But no, it's and when you get to do this business for so many years, I can't wait to give back what I've learned. I love talking to kids in school.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to start teaching these master classes throughout the States. And because I've had theater, film, I've worked with big stars. I feel like I just have a lot of information that I have need to give to younger people. And just so they know.
Especially as a Latino, because when I was starting, which was 30 years before you started, there were no Latinos. There were no Latinos. I remember I was very involved with a chorus line, and that Priscilla, a Latina, is in a Broadway.
Right.
It was a big fucking deal. I mean, it was a big deal, which is, so yeah, it's it's,
and now now there's more of us. We're sprinkled all over.
Sure.
But we still don't have the shows. We still get our shows canceled, but I think there's more Latins spread out in other shows than there's been. But we still have a long way to go, man. I feel like
I still want to see us sprinkled in the show, like in life. I don't need to have an entire Latino cast. That's great when it happens, but I just want to see the neighbor, the judge, like in real life, and it's still not there. It's still not there. They feel that they have to do an entire Latino show or we're not happy.
Yeah, it's not about that. And let me tell you, I think that's been our detriment and our downfall. Is that we put so much force into like this one show, the Latino show, the Latino audience. You know what? We should just be spread into the society as normal people that, oh, this guy happens to be Latin. Oh, he's Latin. It's amazing when you find like an actor. Oh my God, that guy from what was that show? Psych. Oh, he's Argentinian. Nobody knew he was Argentinian. Yeah. Dan Bucatinsky, our guy from Baker and the Beauty, he's Argentinian. He's worked for millions of years. Nobody knew that. It's about integrating into the normality of television. Yeah. When we do have a show, like, I was very behind Baker and the Beauty because I thought it was a good show that could not only for Latinos, but it's a universal families, immigrants. It kind of touched with everybody. But I've made most of my career playing just parts within other shows as a Latino, and I've done okay. You know,
Like in life, like in life.
like in life.
Abelardo, do we have any the audience sometimes writes in during anything
Oh,
going
so
on?
somebody else is watching this? It's just not me
I
and you?
hope
Chuck?
so.
Oh shit!
Well,
The
we
Trying to
have
figure
thing
out
is, no,
what the
the
hell.
thing is, Carlos, that these shows are archived forever
Mm,
on YouTube, and they're archived forever. So anything you said is gonna 20 years from now, they're gonna say, you know, we saw you on a thing where you said
right,
it'll
right.
come back to
Well,
haunt
let me
you.
tell you, kid.
Yeah.
That was a wild couple. Yeah, I said that.
Then you'll really be iconic. What's
Right.
happening, Abelardo?
Sure. We have a Gloria Hinojosa here on Facebook. She's saying,
Oh, she's a
Oh, I love
fantastic
her. Love,
agent.
love Gloria.
She's the
I
best.
did an interview with Gloria, and I swear to God, after the interview, I go like, "This is one of the best interviews I've ever had." I had no idea who she was at the time, and I was
She's
like,
great.
"She's asking me these incredible questions," and I was like, "She's awesome. I love you, Gloria. Awesome. Keep up the work, man."
What does she have to say?
well, she says she's glad she ran into that you all ran into each other at Shadow of a Cat.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right. That's right.
that was the Danny
Right.
Trejo film,
Right.
right?
Yeah, that
Right.
we were so happy to have you both there. And
I
then we
love
have
Gloria. Love
yeah,
Gloria.
Abril Magaña. She's a big fan of Dan Guerrero, and she says saludos.
Who is it?
Abril Magaña. She's every
Oh,
time you're on.
thank you, Avril.
Yes.
Thank you.
But one, Dan, you sometimes you prepare real well. Sometimes you over prepare, and you missed out on this photo. So
Oh my God, that was my
Oh,
first gig.
it's because he was talking about his mother, and that's why I thought we should just jump to that. But yeah,
My first cop part. My first cop on NYPD
please tell
Blue.
me that was Halloween.
I was no, that was NYPD Blue. That was my first show that I did as a cop.
Wow, you aged bad. If that was just 30 years ago, man.
No, that was my dad was a security guard, and it was for a Halloween thing, and my mom made me that.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
that's
funny.
cool. That's cool.
all right, we have
I know you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Cosette Muñatones asking, how did you like working on Madame Secretary?
Wow, that show was on a whole other level because working on New York TV shows, usually you act with a lot of actors that are from theater because that's in New York. Is most of the actors in New York are theater wise, so most of the actors on Madam Secretary would come from their Broadway show to do or the TV show. Working with Tim Daly was amazing. He was great, and I got to work with Jill Hennessy. We had like a little trio that was this group at the time for the series.
Yeah.
It was great. The producers were great. Tea Leone was fantastic to work with. Very professional show. Great writing. But Barbara Harris. Run by all women. It was a very, very special show, and they wrote a great little part for me. He was Latin and very positive. I had to learn Urdu, which is a dialect of. It was great, and I got to be in New York for almost, I did almost for a year doing that show. It was great.
I love that show. I always watched it. I feel so
it was a good show.
done. Yeah.
Very well written, very classy
Yeah.
show. Great directors. Morgan Freeman directed an episode of mine.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was a trip because I thought if this guy's behind the camera, he's like the actors of actors,
Yes.
And he was just the nicest, coolest guy to work with. It was like very special. But yeah, that was a great show. I love that show.
Yeah, I did too.
And Cosette is asking, what's next?
What's next? That's a good question, man. It's funny because after COVID, I went through a tough time. My mom passed away. And then after that, I got Baker and the Beauty. And then, it was the whole thing of, is the show going to come back? And the people were doing the signing. And it was such a tumultuous time. And then COVID hit that, I thought it was a good time to like unplug and really think about and just do a major reset into how do I see my career from this point on? And what do I want to do? Do I really just want to do another, reoccurring on a TV show? And it made me think about a lot of what I want to do for the rest of my career. So, there's a couple of stuff, there's some projects that I'm working on. I want to produce my own stuff. I think the family in Baker and the Beauty was very special. And I think I'm working on something to spin that family off into its own kind of project. So it's mostly about trying to put some projects together right now.
It's true. You have to create your own product these days.
especially nowadays. You know,
Yeah,
there's so many outlets out there,
that's right.
and
That's
it's
right.
in need of content. And now is
That's
the
right.
time. You know, back in the day, you know, we couldn't create content. I mean, there
Of
was
course.
zero, but now there's 580 different, you know, streamers that you can put your stuff on. So, and they need content. And now is a great time to really write our own stories or write our own thing, whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be Latino, it doesn't have to be, but an interesting story that, you know, it's going to, you know, it's going to touch people and stuff.
No,
I think this is a good time to do that right now. You know,
and you know, people are doing films with an iPhone. I mean, there was a time I knew someone who wanted, we were in school together, and he wanted to be a film director more than anything. I mean, he was passionate and gifted, and we ran into each other 30 years later, and he had become a school counselor because he had to drop out of film school at USC because he
well,
couldn't afford it. Because you
right.
had to have the film and the cameras and book. But nowadays, anybody could, there's so many devices out there. You don't
Right.
need to wait for a studio to say yes. You
No,
can do your own product.
you can't do it, and you film it in your phone.
Yeah.
You edit it on your computer, and at least showing that gives
That's
you the
right.
emphasis to make a bigger thing, and then have budget, and you know. But there's no excuse for not creating your own
That's
content
right.
right now,
That's
whatever
right.
it is. There's not.
So go about Abelardo, do something, do a movie.
All right.
And
Do a
write
camping. Do a
roles,
camping.
write roles for
Do
the
a
two of
reality
us.
show about your next camping trip.
Yes. Well, you're sitting in that tent with nothing to do.
Oh,
Do a
no.
film.
There's plenty to do when you're out
Right.
in the mountains.
Right.
Anyway, well, thank you so much, Dan. Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you.
This is a
Here's to
fascinating.
you, Carlos. I toast your next move, and
Thank you,
and
my brother. It was so
we'll
good
see.
seeing you. I'm glad that we got to do this. You're awesome, and you look amazing. You know, talk about iconic. All the best.
Oh
in
my
you.
God, I'm old.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Bye bye. Thank you, Carlos. I
Take care.
appreciate it.
I'll see you
And
later.
now it's my turn to tell Dan, you're out of here. Goodbye. All right. Well, thank you for sticking around, everybody. What a great conversation with Carlos Gomez. I know I've seen him on a lot of TV shows and movies, and now we have a name to the face besides what the roles that he plays. Let me tell you about what's going on at La Plaza de Cultura y Artes. Let me share screen again. Tomorrow night, there at La Plaza, we've returned to our outdoor concerts. Tomorrow we have a Noche de Baile at La Plaza with Lorenzo y los Carnales playing norteño music, and La Junta, which is a DJ collective, playing cumbia. Last week we had a fantastic cumbia concert with La Sonora Dinamita and the DJ group La Junta. Tomorrow it'll be both live norteño and DJ, dance floor, food, a beer garden, free of charge. Come on down. Doors open at 6:30, goes on till 11. Live music for you. There at La Plaza, also we have Margaret Garcia. We opened this exhibition a couple weeks ago. Incredible work. It's called Arte para la Gente, the collected works of Margaret Garcia. It goes on till June 11th of 2023, but it's on our first floor gallery. So come on down. We're open Wednesday through Sundays from noon to 5 o'clock, both La Plaza de Cultura y Artes and La Plaza Cocina. And speaking of La Plaza Cocina, we have our new menu of activities showing the cooking classes that are going to be taking place in August and September. Here's the September through October. We have Pláticas y Pruebas, which are food talks and tastes. We have also Hecho con Amor. It's an incredible cooking classes, cooking demonstrations, and then you get to eat what you cook or what the chef cooks. We have some incredible chefs that'll be there as well. Those you could check those out on their website, laplazacocina.org. So catch everything that we have. You could catch this episode of En Casa con La Plaza, Dan Guerrero Happy Hour on our YouTube page at La Plaza LA, also on our Facebook page at La Plaza LA, and also on our website, lapca.org, where you could find out about all that's going on there at La Plaza de Cultura y Arte. So thanks to you for joining us tonight. Thanks to Dan Guerrero and to Carlos Gomez, and to our sponsors, Union Pacific Foundation and the Institute for Museum and Library Services. And I really hope you make it tomorrow. Bring your dancing shoes. It's going to be a little warm, but it's going to be hot on the dance floor. when you're on it. So thanks for joining us. Muy buenas noches. Nos vemos muy pronto. Hasta la próxima. Bye bye.